Hello, and welcome to our presentation today. Purdue Extension brings you Resolve to Move More, How to Improve Your Health and Well-Being with Physical Activity. This information is brought to you by two Purdue Extension educators,
Jo Gilreath
and Megan Jaspersen. Purdue Extension Health and Human Sciences brings university information to local communities on issues related to food, family, money, and health. And we are here to make your life better. We just want to make a quick note that Purdue University is an equal opportunity, equal access, and affirmative action institution. And if you need this program in any type of alternate format, please contact us directly so we can provide you an appropriate accommodation. We are funded through a variety of different mechanisms, as I'm sure you've heard this before if you've watched one of these presentations. And one of the ways that we report to our funders is by providing data and feedback on the programs and services that we provide. So with that being said, there will be a short evaluation sent to you after you watch this webinar. And we ask that you would kindly complete that survey so that we can help tell our story, show the value of our work, and keep our services at free or low cost to all of the communities in Indiana. As always, this survey is anonymous and voluntary, but we would appreciate it if you are inclined to fill that out. So before we jump in, we wanted to make a few statements today. The information that we are providing is for educational purposes only. It is not intended to replace proper medical advice or guidance. It is recommended, as always, that you consult your healthcare provider before you begin any new exercise or physical activity program. So to summarize the purpose of our time together today, what we're going to be doing is learning how to increase your physical activity levels, identifying personal barriers, and creating an action plan, and giving you the tools to do that to increase your physical activity levels. We're going to be increasing awareness about the role that physical activity plays in disease prevention. And finally, we're going to learn that physical activities, there's a variety of them, and they can improve your strength, balance, and flexibility. So we wanted to start off with why physical activity? Why is this so important? There's a lot of different reasons. Research has shown us that regular physical activity benefits, yes, our physical health, but also our mental health. It can actually reduce the risk of developing health conditions like heart disease, cancer, type 2 diabetes, obesity, and osteoporosis. It can improve your cardiorespiratory fitness, build strong bones and muscles, lower blood pressure, help control your weight, improve your sleep, your energy, and your self-image. It can help you manage stress and reduce your risk for falls and reduce symptoms of anxiety and depression. Whew, that is a long list, all positive things that that physical activity can help us with. So definitely that's a good reason for the why. Now, just a few more facts that I'm going to throw out. The Surgeon General says that more than 60% of U.S. adults do not engage in the recommended amount of physical activity. Approximately 25% of U.S. adults, so that's 1 in 4, are doing zero physical activity, are not active at all. And the prevalence of self-reported physical activity among U.S. adults from 2017 to 2020 for Indiana was 28.5%. So that means 28.5% of Indiana adults are doing no physical activity. Well, why is that an issue? See slide before, okay? In the U.S. obesity prevalence, when we think about that big picture, in 2017 to 2020 was 41.9%. And this has been on the rise. So for Indiana, we're doing a little bit better than the national average, but we are still 1 in 3 adults, and that is also rising. So definitely an issue that affects our state and our nation. Now, more than 37 million people in the United States have diabetes. That's about 10.5% of our population. And the scariest thing is that 1 in 5 of them don't even know that they have it. So that's an issue. That's certainly an issue, and physical activity can help combat it. Heart disease is the leading cause of death in the US, and that accounts for 1 in 5 deaths. And if that's not reason enough, just a few more quick stats from the American Cancer Society regarding cancer. Cancer is actually the 2nd leading cause of death worldwide, and 10 million people die from cancer every year. You might be thinking, well, what does that have to do with physical activity? More than 40% of cancer-related death could be preventable, as these deaths are linked to modifiable risk factors such as smoking, alcohol use, poor diet, and physical inactivity. So one other, maybe a little bit more personal way to look at the benefits of physical activity is to think about, what is your why? How do you want to live? How do you want to age? Regular physical activity can really help improve your ability to do the things that you want to do, to make everyday activities easier for you and to help you stay independent as you age. You only get one body in this life, and doing physical activity regularly is an awesome way to take care of it.
So how much physical activity should you get? The American College of Sports Medicine, ACSM, and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, both recommend that adults get at least 150 minutes of moderate aerobic activity a week, along with strength building activities 2 or more days a week. You should also be doing some flexibility and balance exercises. So yes, there are 4 types of activity you should be getting, but think of this as a good thing. You have lots of options of how and in what way to get moving more. So while exercise is recommended by the experts, think back to the question Megan just asked you. What is your why? Why do you want to increase your physical activity? How do you want to live? So instead of saying, I should be getting more exercise, rephrase that to, I want to move more because I want to, and fill in the blank with your why. So ask yourself, what is your recommendation for increasing physical activity at this time? Let's take a closer look at each of the activities. So aerobic activity, what counts? You basically, when you're moving, your breathing will be harder and you need to get your heart rate up a little bit. What do you do right now that gets your heart rate up? I mean, keep in mind, aerobic activities can be informal, like doing stuff around the house or your office, or they could be formal, like attending a class or doing a session on YouTube with an instructor. They can be low impact, they can be high impact. The words on the screen, at least, are important. So you should be getting at least 150 minutes. You can strive for more. That's a good benchmark. How often you do it is going to be what's realistic for you. 3 to 5 days a week is a good goal, but don't get discouraged if you miss a day. The recommendation for the amount of activity has moved to counting all collective activity in a week versus saying that you have to do so much, so many days a week. And research actually is now showing that there are known benefits of getting up and moving 5 minutes every hour. The second category, strength, muscle strengthening exercises. You probably automatically think of, you automatically think of barbells and weight machines. And yes, that is one way to get the strength activity done. But strength building can also be done with resistance bands, hand weights, and actually no equipment at all, just your own body. It is recommended that you limit strength exercises to 2 to 3 times a week with a day of rest in between. And like all activities, start with a light effort and build up. You can do higher amount of repetitions with a lower weight. And as you challenge yourself with a higher weight, you will lower your number of repetitions. Okay. Excuse me, I'm having a little technology difficulty. Here we go. So in addition to the aerobic and strength building activity, you also want to add in some flexibility and balance. These can be a nice warm up or cool down to your aerobic and strength activities. Stretch your muscles 2 to 7 days a week to the point of feeling tightness and hold them for 30 to 60 seconds. Balance can be as often as you like. It can be as simple as standing on one leg. You can't see me, but I'm standing on one leg. It can be walking heel to toe when you're going down the hallway. Flexibility balance activities can be done anywhere, when standing in line somewhere, when at the playground with a family member, when you're in your office on a call or on a webinar. The one thing we like about strength, flexibility, and balance activities is they tend to not get your heart rate up high. So you probably are not going to start sweating. And so you're not going to need to shower or change clothes. So you can kind of do them anywhere, at work, middle of the day, at home, or again, out in public. And you'll see more about this, what we mean when we do some demoing.
Okay, so we have a couple of considerations before you get started. We want you to be safe when you start any new physical activity program. As I mentioned earlier at the start of this presentation, it is advised that you first talk with your healthcare provider. Now, we will be providing you a handout with some of these questions that we're going to review. So you will be getting this at the follow-up webinar. The email that comes out after this. But some of the questions we want you to consider. Are there any exercises or activities that I should avoid? Are there any that I should modify? Maybe that's based on, some certain health conditions that are specific to you, and your doctor should know about that. Do you have concerns about any of my personal health conditions as it relates to exercise? Is there any particular advice for me before I get started? And then it's a good idea, as you're talking with your healthcare provider, to dive a little bit deeper and ask about some of the benefits that could be personal to you. So you can ask your healthcare provider about how physical activity could improve your health and prevent disease based on your personal health history and circumstances. Some questions to throw out around this are, will exercise help prevent me from developing any illnesses or health conditions? And if so, which ones? Would exercise help decrease or maintain any current health conditions that I have? Would exercising help decrease the use of any medications that I'm currently taking? Hint, oftentimes the answer is yes for some of these. How would exercise influence my risk for falls? Will exercise speed up my recovery from an injury or a planned surgery? It's always good to be aware of what your weight is and what should it be. So your healthcare provider can help provide some guidance around that. And if exercise would help you to maintain what your optimal level of weight would be. Now, I will mention that you have to take the proactive approach and ask these questions versus waiting for your healthcare provider to ask you. Make a list ahead of time of questions and take it into your appointment with you, because sometimes we get there and we forget. These are also good questions to ask people that you know who are already exercising regularly. Ask them what kind of benefits that they have personally found. That can be very impactful. Now, we also want to talk about, we talked about it's important to be safe. We want to provide you with a few additional safety tips. When you get moving, start slowly. Can't stress this enough. Oftentimes people overdo it and then they feel sore or unfortunately can even get injured, which does not motivate them to continue. So make sure you're starting slow. You always want to include a warm up and a cool down period to make sure that you're avoiding some of those injuries. Hydrating properly before and after activity is very important. We want to make sure we're giving our body the fluids that it needs. Pay attention to your clothes. You want to make sure that you're wearing appropriate clothing and shoes. This does not mean that you need to go out and buy the latest, most expensive athletic attire. But you do want to wear items that are conducive to movement. If you plan to walk at work, then make sure you have walking shoes to change into. I always keep a pair under my desk. It's an easy thing to tuck in. Do not wear items that are really heavy or baggy. If you are one of those people that tend to sweat a lot, try wearing moisture wicking fabrics as you're working out. You always want to exercise in a sturdy closed-toe shoe. In fact, if you're going to invest in athletic wear, shoes are a really great place to start. When you are exercising, make sure that you are listening to your body. If at any time you feel pain, any kind of pain, dizziness, or shortness of breath, you want to stop and do a check, okay? All of this information on benefits, recommendations, and tips, this is all great. But as soon as you hit a roadblock or barrier, which again, hint, this will happen, it can all be thrown out the window. So what we want to talk about next are barriers, or another phrase for that is,
what's your excuse? Okay, let's be honest here. What are the barriers you face in being active or having the physical activity that you want to? By now, you've probably already given some thought to what are you already doing that you know helps you. And I want you to think about what are you not doing that you know helps you. And you want to ask yourself, why am I not doing the things that I know help? And why am I doing the things that I know don't help me in terms of my goals and my physical activity? So when we look at the following barriers, keep all of that in mind. What is getting in your way? You want to identify the different categories of barriers you face, because then you can set appropriate goals and do some practical problem solving. Barriers are a reality. And this is the hard part, where the hard work comes in. How do we get over the barriers and implement practical solutions? We're going to just share some ideas. And you're going to think about some additional ones, because I'm sure there's more. The first category, lack of energy. Try to sneak in some activity earlier in the day when your energy level is high. Remember, it's cumulative minutes of activity throughout the day. You don't have to have an hour. You don't have to have 30 minutes. Just try moving for 15 minutes. If you don't feel more energized, then stop. Pay attention to your nutrition while you're doing this, because sugar and caffeine crashes may be a factor into your energy level. So start your day, and throughout the day, have healthy protein snacks, fruits and vegetables to help support you. The next barrier is lack of time. So try to sneak it in, put it in your day. You probably get some breaks at work. Take a walk, stand up, do some stretches. Have some hand weights nearby. Schedule walk and talk meetings. Pack your lunch and use the time that you saved not having to go out to a restaurant and get lunch. Use that time for some physical movement. You can multitask if you're at a family member's activity, extracurricular activity. Resist the urge to, drop them off and go run errands. Stay there, watch them, but also be moving around or doing some stretching on the sidelines. Consolidate your activities. You can move while watching TV even. You can stretch on the floor while you're watching a movie. You can do some of these activities while listening to webinars. Being prepared is important. Always have a bag of clothes or athletic shoes. Sorry. Okay, I'm not the most tech savvy person here, so always have a bag of clothes with you. All right, Megan.
Lack of motivation.
Lack of motivation. Okay, I need to get back.
A slide.
A slide. And scroll down for me. There we go. So sorry about that. And, I will say just as a side note, when we're dealing with goals and our physical activity and our health, we do have to have a sense of humor, just like when we're doing technology. So, don't be too hard on yourself. Got to let some things go. So if you hit a barrier, you got to try again and switch things up a little bit. If you're hitting some barriers about motivation, revisit your why, maybe write it down. Practice some positive self-talk instead of negative self-talk. Some people like to do before and after pictures. Those are for your eyes only. Some people like to put up notes, post-it notes, or motivational sayings. Put it on your calendar. What works for you? And then do that. Apply it to your physical activity, just like you do other tasks. If your barrier is you have a lack of social support, then you might need to create that by finding an accountability buddy, someone who has some similar goals and wants to increase their movement, attend group classes, implement a workplace initiative. And there's lots of apps that are out there to help you with motivation and accountability. You may need to be the proactive one in your social group or in your work group, but talk to people about it, and maybe suggest some different ways to do your tasks. You could meet for a walk instead of meeting friends for dinner at a restaurant. You could put it on the agenda of a staff meeting to discuss ways to support each other in movement throughout your work day. There's more barriers, resources. Ask around. There are free guest trial passes for groups and classes and athletic centers, and ask about financial aid for memberships. If you're looking for specific equipment, ask around. Often people have the equipment and they are not using it. You can find things on Facebook Marketplace, at garage sales, or in search of free giveaways. There's lots of free online videos available now through YouTube and other platforms. Double check resources that might be available through your healthcare provider, your healthcare plan, and your workplace wellness program. Now, some people, a barrier tends to be in the emotional category. Maybe you're embarrassed or you have low body image in terms of what you look like, but ask yourself, are things going to improve if I do nothing? Will I feel better if I do nothing? No. And often when it comes to exercise, we don't regret doing something, but we regret not doing something. So practice that positive self-talk. Don't be judgmental. Give yourself grace. Celebrate baby steps of increased activity. Another reality of barriers is we have obligations, family obligations. So try to, again, incorporate this with their activities. Can you exercise with your kids? When they're riding bikes, can you jog? If they move too fast, have them jog and you ride the bike. While they're playing on the playground, don't sit down on your phone. Don't sit on the bench. Move around and do some exercises and stretching of your own. Try to trade off with a neighbor or a partner, a friend, someone just one night a week so you can go do your physical activity and then you can provide the support to them. And of course, if you have access to a fitness center, most of them do have childcare resources for you to utilize. Okay, so as we discussed, there are 4 main categories of physical activity: endurance, strength, balance, and flexibility. And we're going to take a closer look at each type and demonstrate a few of them for you. And as a reminder, these are for demonstration purposes only. And Megan's going to tell you a little bit more. She's going to be in the background demoing. I'm going to be off to the side narrating, and we'll try to adjust the screen so you can see appropriately.
Okay, so I'm going to jump in, and I'm not actually going to demonstrate any aerobic activities, but we're just going to talk through those, and then I'll jump in with demonstrating on the strength side. So aerobic activities are anything, like Joe said, that gets your heart rate up. This includes things like biking, swimming, jogging, hiking, playing basketball, tennis, dancing, and even housework and yard work counts here. So a simple endurance activity to start with is just brisk walking. This does not cost much, if anything. You can do it with other people, and you can walk pretty much anywhere, in any time, and lots of different weather. Again, I want to reiterate the importance of wearing proper shoes and socks. Definitely try to avoid flip-flops here. When you're out and about, you want to make sure that you're wearing brightly colored clothing, and walk or talk with somebody at the same time. Make sure that you're finding a safe location to do this in, and take a cell phone with you and a water bottle. Always let somebody know when and where you are going, just for safety purposes. And as another side note for safety, we want to mention sun safety here, especially now that it's March and we're rolling into the summer months, but really this is important all year long. When you're doing your endurance activities outside, we recommend that you take steps to protect your skin from the sun. Like I said, even in the winter. So you'll want to apply an SPF 30 or more before you go out. It's a good idea to wear a wide-brimmed hat and sunglasses. And in the summer months, make sure that you're trying to find some shady areas and avoid that 10 to 4 p.m. time when the UV rays are their strongest. Okay. All right, now I'm going to hand it over to Jo, and she's going to chat, and I am going to demonstrate on this screen some of the things that she is talking through for us.
All right, we're going to stop sharing.
Stop screen sharing so you can see me better. Okay.
Okay, so for the strength building exercises, these can make a difference. Strong muscles help you stay independent and make your everyday activities feel easier, like getting up from a chair, climbing your stairs, carrying groceries and supplies. So you want to keep your muscles strong. They also helps with your balance. These exercises should be done at least 2 days a week, alternating your muscle groups. When you do them, build up slowly. Start with no weight and then light weight. Do not jerk or thrust. Make slow, steady movements and avoid locking your joints. Always keep your arm and leg joints slightly bent. So the first one Megan's going to show you is the overhead arm raise. This can be done while standing or sitting. You have your feet flat on the floor. Her feet are flat on the floor. She's going to hold with flat on the floor, shoulder width apart. You then hold some kind of weight. It can be cans or hand weights at your sides, shoulder height, with your palms facing forward. Slowly raise both arms up over your head, keeping your elbows slightly bent. Hold the position for 1 second and slowly lower your arms. Repeat this motion 10 to 15 times. Raise both arms up, hold 1 second, slowly lower your arms. Elbows slightly bent. Do not lock your joints. Normally, you would repeat this for 10 to 15 times. The second exercise Megan is showing is the toe stand or the calf raise. You stand behind a sturdy chair or a counter. Face your feet shoulder width apart, holding on for balance. That's okay to hold on, just don't have a death grip. Slowly stand up on your tiptoes as high as possible. Hold for 1 second, then slowly lower your heels to the floor. Repeat this 10 to 15 times. Notice she is holding at the top for 1 second, then slowly, in a controlled manner, lowering her heels to the floor. As she improves her strength, she might take one hand off her chair. Eventually, her balance is going to be improved and her strength where she can have no hands. But the chair is there for safety protection. Okay. Next, we're going to talk about some balance exercises. These will help you conduct everyday activities like getting up from the floor, walking stairs, doing housework, chores, and recreational activities. They're going to boost your confidence and help you prevent falls. The first one is stand on 1 foot. Megan is standing. She's good, so she's standing next to a sturdy chair. You can be behind a chair if you want, holding on for balance. So we'll have you do that, yeah. Stand behind the chair hold on for balance, and stand on one foot. Now, this time she's going to hold that for 10 seconds. That's really working that balance. Her other leg might be wobbling a little bit. And after 10 seconds or so, she's going to put the foot down and repeat that. Switching legs. Hold for 10 seconds. She'll put that foot down, go back to the other side, and repeat 10 to 15 times. The chair is there to help with balance, but should not have a death grip on it, and eventually might be able to lift one hand or two. And when you get really good, you can try to close your eyes. That's a great way to throw off your balance. Okay, we're going to show you heel to toe walk. This is one you can do as you're walking down the hallway at work or in your house. She's doing it in the open. You could modify it by standing near a wall to steady yourself or a countertop. But you start with raising your arms to your sides, shoulder height, and then focus your eyes on a spot in front of you. Straight ahead, do not look down. And keep that gaze steady as you walk. And she's going to place her heel of one foot in front of the toes of the other. They should touch or almost touch. And you continue taking steps, trying to look up and forward. And your arms are there to help you with your balance. So if you start to wobble a little bit, your arms will help you stay up. Pretty nice. I feel like I should clap.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay, moving on to flexibility. A few examples for flexibility that is like stretching. It's going to help you move more freely and make it easier for you to do things like reaching down and tying your shoes or carrying your work materials. It also helps you just like do everyday things like back your car and out and look over your shoulder. Flexibility activities should be done 2 to 3 times a week after about 5 minutes of warm-up. So here we go. The first one she's going to show you is for your ankles. And this one is to help strengthen your ankles. And as you do it, don't forget to breathe. You sit securely toward the edge of a sturdy chair. Stretch your legs out in front of you, heels on the floor. Bend your ankles and point your toes toward you. After you point the toes toward you, you hold for 10 to 30 seconds. Again, you would start maybe with 10, gradually work your way up. Then you bend the ankles to point your toes away from you, and you hold that for 10 to 30 seconds. And you repeat 3 to 5 times. As you see, it's not a big movement, nor is it a fast movement, but it is tightening and stretching the muscles and the ligaments. It's a little deceiving. It's doing more than it looks like. Okay, so that's for your ankles. Now we're going to show you one for your shoulders. It's called the cross-body shoulder stretch. And this will help improve your upper body flexibility. So you start by standing or sitting up tall. Yeah, don't be dumping into the chair. Grab one arm if you have, grab one arm above your elbow with your opposite hand and pull it across your body towards your chest until you feel a stretch in your shoulder. So how far you have to pull it is going to depend on you. Just do it until you feel that stretch in your shoulder. You should not feel pain. Keep your elbow just below your shoulder and hold for 30 seconds. Remember to breathe. Do not hold your breath. If we weren't recording, she'd be talking to me. That's a good sign because that means you're not holding your breath.
That's right.
And then after you hold for 30 seconds, you repeat on the other side. Grab your arm above your elbow with your opposite hand. Pull it across your body towards your chest as you feel a stretch in your shoulder. That. So now we've shown you a few examples. We're done with our demos. We're going to start screen sharing and wrap this up for you. I'll let you do it.
Okay. Thank you for your patience as we pull this up. And let's get the right thing here. Okay, so we have talked through a lot of these things and demonstrated them for you. My slide is not where it needs to be.
Next steps.
Okay, so yes, now we want to talk about some next steps. And what we want to focus on is, now that you've seen some of the activities and know the benefits and the recommendations, we want you to set a goal and make an action plan. How much activity do you typically get in a day? Sit down. Now is a great time to just really think about that. How much do you get and how much do you want to get? You will want to track your progress in whatever way makes sense for you. Pick a method that's user-friendly. It could be a written log sheet. It could be a calendar. It could be an app on your smartphone, or a pedometer, a Fitbit, anything like that. There's all sorts of technology out there, but you need to choose what will work for you. Remember that all physical activity throughout your day counts towards this. Choose one of the barriers that Jo talked about, identify it, and think about how you can overcome it. Add a time frame, and then you have a goal. We will actually be providing you with a handout that walks you through goal setting, and it talks about SMART goals, and it gives you an example of how to do that. So that can walk you through. Take time to do this because written goals are very, very impactful. And the information that Jo and I presented today is pretty basic. Of course, there's a lot of other resources and information out there. The resources on your screen are all reputable, research-based sites and sources that you can visit for more information. We will be including a resource handout in the follow-up email as well. Now, early on in the pandemic, Jo and I did a 13-minute video demoing in some more detail a handful of exercises. So if you'd like to check that out, we also have that available at the Be Active Everyday link that's on your screen. Okay, and in closing, as always, you can feel free to contact us. Our information is on the screen there, Jo and Megan, or you can also contact your local extension educator, Shannon. Her information is also on your screen, and we can provide you with any kind of additional information and guidance. Thank you so much for attending our webinar today, and we really, again, look forward to receiving your feedback through our survey.
Be well as you resolve to move more.
Thank you.